We're back with part two of building our pfSense, and we're about ready to do the IP address configuration. And because this is a virtual, one thing that we could do is we could go ahead and create a save point or a checkpoint or a snapshot, depending on your virtual environment. And what that would allow us to do is it would allow us to, undo anything that we had done. Now, as we mentioned, it's a virtual machine, and so if we just have to wipe it out and start over, it's not a terrible situation, and it's not a terrible thing. What we want to do then is I made one change to our notes here, and I added the slash values down here. Those weren't on there before, just to pay particular attention. So what I'm going to do here in my virtuals, I'm going to go up to option number 2. Okay. And I'll tell you that how this works is that you just have to read the questions. Read the questions and go through it, and if you have to go through it a couple times, don't worry about it. It's different, it's new, and if you've got your snapshot, then you can revert if you need to. I selected option number 2, and option number 2, as you see here, is set interface IP address, and it's asking me which one that I want to set, and I'm going to go for the WAN one first, so I just choose 1. We don't have any mouse activity here. This is all keyboard. Okay. Configure IPv4 address WAN interface via or using DHCP, and the answer to that is no. We're going to do static assignments for all of our addresses. Enter the WAN IPv4 address and then press enter. So I'm looking now at my handout, and the WAN side 198.187.236.38. This is an odd slash value, but it'll come up in a minute, so we don't add the slash value here. So 198.187.236.38 is correct for me, and then of course yours is going to be different and correct for you. So I hit enter on that. So now it asks me to enter the subnet bit count, and it gives me some examples. This is a /26, and so I just type in 26. Okay. For a WAN, enter the new For a WAN, enter the new WAN IPv4 upstream gateway address. Well, I didn't make a note of that, so I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go find out that information, and I'll be right back. Okay, so back to the handout, and there it is. And I've made note of that. So I'll go back now to the virtual machine. And this value, of course, will be the same for all of us. Okay, next question. Now, this is all in one wizard here, and one of the challenges is if you make one mistake, it's like you kind of have to finish the wizard and then go back and start it over again. Configure IPv6 address WAN interface via DHCP. No, we're not going to use DHCP for that. So you might be thinking, Randy, couldn't this be done through the web interface? It could. It could. We're doing it here, but you could also use the default values and open a web browser and whatnot. But yes, it could be done through the web interface. Okay, WAN IPv6 address. Okay, my IPv6 is 38. And that's a 64. Almost all IPv6. In fact, I don't know if I've seen one that wasn't 64. They're all /64, but I'm sure there's the reason that you wouldn't use 64. The upstream gateway for this. Okay, question here. Do you want to revert to HTTP as opposed to HTTPS, as the web configure protocol, and we don't want to do that. We're going to go deeper into pfSense, and we are going to create a certificate for it and assign a certificate to it so that it'll be valid for HTTPS. So the question is, do you want to use HTTP? And the answer is no, we don't want to use HTTP. We want it to stay with the default, which is HTTPS. Now it's coming back around, and it's going to then show us what we did. Let's take a look at it. And then we're going to go through a similar procedure, but we're going to do it for the LAN interface. So I'm just going to pause here for a moment, or ask you to pause the video for a moment, take a look at the values, and be sure that they all look good. Now they do look good. Now it doesn't show us the gateway values that we put in, but the IPv4, IPv6 values for the WAN interface look good. We go back and we run Wizard 2 again. So option number 2. This time we want to do the LAN interface, which is 2. And we go through the same set of questions. Enter the LAN IPv4 address. And again, unique for each of us. For me, my CorpNet network ID is 192.168.18. So 192.168.18. And then PF1 itself is host.1. And that's the /24. There's no gateway. If there's anything that might throw you off here, and there's no gateway on the LAN interface. The gateway is only assigned to the WAN interface. Remember, the gateway is where do I go to go beyond this network? How do I get out to other networks? And it's only our WAN interface that the routing tables on the WAN interface will need that information, not on the LAN interface. And so we just hit enter on this, and it puts in none. LAN IPv6 address. Okay. And that's a 64 value. And again, no gateway on the LAN side of it. I guess it tells us that there. If I read it more carefully, I'm just going to let's just read it. It says for a WAN, enter the new LAN IPv6 upstream gateway address. For a WAN, press enter for none. Okay. Sounds good to me. Do we want a DHCP server to run on pfSense? That's the question it's asking here. Is it saying that pfSense can do a lot of things, and one of the things it can do is it can provide DHCP services both for IPv4 and IPv6. Do we want to enable that service to run on pfSense? And the answer is no. We're going to use one of our Windows servers to do that. So we're going to say no DHCP running on pfSense. And that is true also for DHCP6. And same question about the web configurator. No, we want to stay with HTTPS. So here it comes back, and again we pause and we just look at our values. Now we're going to go back to first of all, let me make note of this value, right? The value that I'm interested in and that you're interested in is this one. Okay. We need to know that because when we go in and we bring in our Windows, whatever you're bringing over, Windows 10, 11, whichever, a server, whatever you bring over to CorpNet, you're going to need to use that IP address that I just underlined there to get to your pfSense install, PF1, so that you can open the web configurator and do the website of the installation. So we got to make note of that. Okay, so I've made a note, 192.168.18.1. I'm good to go. Beyond that here, we're good. So I'm going to wrap up this video. Well, let me tell you, let's go to the drawing and then I'll tell you what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do then, okay, I'm over here where I've got my numbers, is right now I've got this switch over here, head 224G. And all of my machines, 224A, all of my machines right now are connected to it because it was convenient. It allowed me Windows 10 and Windows 11. I haven't built this one yet. They're all connected to that because it's connected to the internet through its own firewall. It's really cool. It's simple. It's sweet. It's handy, convenient. whatever expression you want to use here. It's a nice way to go. So I use that switch in my VMware server to do all the updates and stuff on my Windows machines as I was building them. Well, now that I've got pfSense mostly built, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over to my Windows 10 machine and I'm going to put it on CorpNet, and I'm going to put its static address on it. Okay? And by doing that, then I know that I can open a web browser on a machine. You can use any one you want. I'm going to open a web browser on it, and what am I going to type in? I'm going to type in, excuse me, no, yeah, 192.168.18.1. That was that IP address that I had to make note of as I finished the console side of my pfSense install. So I'm going to open a web browser. I'm going to type in https:// and type in that address. Now it's going to give me a certificate error. I expect that. But it's going to give me, if everything goes well, I should get a web page opening up that gives me the option to log in. And if we go back to the build guide, the default login is here on the build guide. And then I'll have emailed you our classroom password. Okay, so this is just a temporary one right here. The default one when you install pfSense, the default login is admin and the default password is pfSense. And as part of going through the web GUI side of the installation, finishing it up, you'll be then prompted to assign a new password, and that's the one that I'll send to you by email. You should have received it by now. If not, let me know and I'll get that to you. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all that. I'm going to wrap up this video and I'm going to go get Windows 10 moved over, static address on it, connect to my PF1, and be ready to log in. And that's where I'll pick up with the next video with you. And again, realize that you can take a snapshot of your virtual at any point as you're going through this, or if things go really bad and you just have to start over, you're probably, once you've done it a time or two, you're probably looking at about 20 minutes. Not a bad recovery at all. All right, I'll see you in the next video.